Hey everyone, I'm out here in the garage with the Acura RL once again, and what I'm going to be talking about today is rotating tires. So stay tuned. So what I'm going to be doing today is talking about rotating the tires on the Acura RL. Now this is something that's usually done about every 7,500 miles, and normally I would have the local discount tire do this, but I figured since I'm home I could do it myself. In all reality, I've only got about 3,000 miles on this car since I had the tires put on back in February, but I figured I'd just go ahead and do a demonstration anyway. So what I've done here, I've got the car up on jack stands, front and rear, and I've got videos on that for jacking up the front and the rear of the car. Again, that's not a recommended procedure to jack up all four corners, so do that at your own risk. But it's pretty simple on this car since we have really tall pinch wells to work with. So let's go ahead and jump into rotating tires on the Acura RL. Alright, so as I mentioned, I've got the car up on jack stands, front and rear. And just remember also your struts are going to extend, which is going to bring your wheel closer to the ground. And you also don't want to jack the car up so high that it makes things unstable too. So I've got that done. The other thing I need to consider is what kind of tires I have. So do I have directional tires, which when you look at them, they kind of funnel down to a V? Or do I have non-directional tires, which is basically the opposite of that? They don't really have any sort of direction at all. So on this car, right now I have Michelin Premier ASs, which are a non-directional tire. With non-directional tires, you want to rotate those where the front wheels go to the back, and then the rear wheels typically will crisscross to the front. So for a directional tire, those are typically rotated front to back. They're not rotated from side to side, so you would not crisscross those or move them from side to side. There is also another type of tire out there, which is basically a non-directional tire, and that's called asymmetric. And that's what I have on my Acura Legend. Those are Continental Extreme Contact DWS 06 tires. And if you look at the tread pattern on those, they have kind of an inside and an outside to them. And basically, when you look at them, they don't have any sort of symmetry at all. So basically, the Continental Extreme Contact DWS 06 or any other asymmetric tire, I would just rotate those just like I would rotate my Michelin tires. Alright, so I've got the lug nuts all loosened. Now, I have done this on occasion where I forget to loosen the lug nuts before I jack up the car. So what I usually do is just take my 19mm socket in this case and my ratchet, put on the lug nut I want to loosen. In about that orientation, hold the tire for leverage, and then just quickly pull, like that. So the first thing I'm going to do is move all the tires around. So I'm going to move the front to the back, and then I'm going to move the back to the front, and then we'll start putting all the lug nuts on and tighten everything down. So I'm going to take this one off first. Alright, so I'm on to the passenger side front. Go ahead and pull these lug nuts off. Alright, so now I'm going to move the rears to the front. So I'm going to do that in a crisscross pattern. So the driver's side rear is going to go to the passenger side front. Do that first. Alright, so lastly we're going to move the passenger side rear to the driver's side front. Alright, so now that I have all four wheels at their new locations, what I'm going to do is put the wheels on. And what I'm going to do is tighten the lug nuts down. I'm not going to tighten the lug nuts down to spec just yet. I'm just going to get it somewhat tight for now. And then we'll torque the lug nuts when we get the car back on the ground. So I'm going to use the impact. Again, I'm just going to lightly tighten these down. I'm going to do it in a crisscross pattern. Alright, so I'm going to go around the car and tighten all the lug nuts down now to 80 foot-pounds, 19mm socket. Doing that in a crisscross pattern. Alright, so the last thing I'm going to do is check the air pressure at all four corners. So the air pressure on the Acura RL is 29 psi all around. So I've got my tire inflator here hooked up to my air compressor. It's got this gauge on it. This one happens to be by EP Auto. Put that on. This one's at around 30 right now, so I'm going to relieve some of the pressure down to 29. Alright, so there's 29. Alright, so we'll just go around the car and check the other three corners, and that should be it. There's passenger side front. That's about 29, I'm going to leave that. Put our cap on. And that's it. Alright, so there you have it. There's rotating the tires on the 1999 Acura RL, and definitely getting the car up on jack stands on all four corners makes things go a whole lot faster. So hopefully this information was helpful, and thanks for watching.